House.
Hi everybody, Tim Greeley. Glad you guys are here today, but I'll tell you what the shame is. None of you need to be here, particularly you that ask those questions. People like you that are in the know, that are vocal like this, don't need to be here. People that need to be here aren't. So I was going to talk about the war on drugs, but there is no war on drugs. If there was at any one time, give up, we lost. It's over. There's no war on drugs. Oh, and before I forget, calling him Reverend is very, very difficult for me because I knew him when he was so not reverend that I don't even want to go into it because, well, lightning. That's suffice to say. I've worked with both the senator when he was a judge in his courtroom. I've worked with Judge Arnone frequently in our own kind of mini drug court. I'm an almost 30-year recovering heroin addict and have been in the drug and alcohol treatment industry for 28 years. I speak all over the country. I do interventions, and an intervention is nothing more than a dysfunctional surprise party. It's a surprise party where you don't want to be the guest of honor. So I tell people, if I show up at your house one morning with your whole family and you didn't know we were coming, you're screwed. Just put 30 pairs of underwear in a bag because you're coming with me. Somebody's going to rehab. So far, since January 1st, I have placed 116 people in detox and rehab. 116, and I'm just one guy. I've also been to 9 funerals. And I say that, I've been to more than that, but 9 funerals specifically caused by drug overdose. Out of these 9 funerals since January 1st, 6 of them were under 25 years old. 3 of them were over 45. The majority of overdoses that I see these days are, unbelievably enough, between the ages of 44 and 55. The fastest growing age group for overdoses is 55 and over. I'm not going to talk specifically about heroin, but you might hear me say Percodan, you might hear me say Opana, Oxycontin, oxycodone. It's all heroin. It's all heroin in a pill. Do we have a problem? Let me tell you, here's how you can tell if you have a problem. If you have a chemical company, a pharmaceutical company, that spends enough money on a commercial to run a commercial for opioid-induced constipation, you have an opioid problem. There are so many opiates out there that now no one can poop. And it's so bad that the chemical companies who have first prescribed us a drug that constipates us are now second generation prescribing us another drug that helps us be able to poop. Now I'm waiting for the next drug, which will be maybe a quart where you just stick it in there so nobody can do anything. I've been involved in, here's the thing, a lot of times people will say, what can I do? Let me tell you what you can do. You can get on the horn or go on the internet and talk to the people at Prevention Point Pittsburgh. Prevention Point Pittsburgh, they do trainings for Narcan. Narcan is a life-saving drug, probably in a couple of these vehicles here right now, that helps bring people back from opiates. It's a Narcan. And I've been involved, and I carry it myself, and I've been able to help 2 people come back to life. And let me tell you, in both cases, the first case, I almost got into a fight. The guy was out cold, they were doing CPR on him, it was right down on Carson Street in the West End at, believe it or not, a recovery club. Guy overdoses in a parking lot, and I happen to have this in my car, and I happen to be there at the time, and I go and administer this drug, and this guy shoots up and says, "Did you give me Narcan?" And I said, "Yeah." And he started to scream at me. I ruined his high. A lot of people don't understand the thinking process involved with people who are addicted to drugs. And it's so bizarre and so contrary to what people who are not addicted would think, it's difficult to understand. This is why, unfortunately, we have so many people who say, forget Narcan, let them die. Junkies, let them just let them die. But what they don't see is that in 1958, the American Medical Association and a whole bunch of people that are smarter than I'm ever going to be have determined that addiction is a disease, and it's a treatable disease. Why not treat the disease? That's like saying, okay, if you're diabetic and you eat a Milky Way and go into a diabetic coma, just let her die. Let them die. Let fat people die because they overeat. Let people with seizure disorders, just let them seize out and smash their heads, just let them die. But it's real difficult for the general public to look at addiction the same as they look at any other disease. Now the people here, the people that are here today, you don't have this problem. I don't even know why I'm talking to you people. You know what I'm talking about. You understand. It's you people down there. It's them. And it's them up there. I saw you in that window. I didn't actually see them. If we would take a look at illness instead of the penal area here, and both the senator and the judge were very specific about this. Why are you going to send somebody to jail for having a disease? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You have a disease, but you committed a crime. And these guys are locked in. You've got to kind of take care of this. You've got to take care of the legal issues here, too. And you've got to take care of the phone. Sometimes jail is good. Sometimes jail teaches a lesson that can't be taught any other way. Sometimes jail works. I can't tell you how many parents I talk to that have their kid in jail and they think, oh, the cops, they did that stupid judge, And I said, how'd you sleep last night with your kid in jail? And if they're honest, what they say is, this is the first night I've actually had a good sleep in I don't know how long. Because my son's not out running the street, he's not getting shot by dope fiend, he's not picking up any more charges, he's alive. Now, I don't advocate for jail, but some people have an attitude and they don't want to get treatment, then fine. The judge and the senator also talked about insurance companies and wanting to pay for longer treatment. Every national statistic I've ever read says, and this is over a 25-year period, longer treatment is better than shorter treatment. More is better, which should fall right into place with drug addicts, because for drug addicts, more is better. So how do we do this? Well, see, here's the problem. Money. It's all about money. And insurance companies, they don't want to pay. And I love that. I'd love if we could get some laws that would stipulate 60 days or 90 days, because I think the recidivism rate would go down considerably. But I don't know if that's going to happen because of money. Everybody sitting here today has probably been affected by addiction in one way or another. SAMHSA, National Organization for Drug Abuse and Mental Health Issues, has said that their statistics through the ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, indicate this, that every addict has a direct effect on at least 5 or 7 immediate family members. So the effect of addiction spreads throughout the family, and the family sometimes is just as sick, if not sicker, than the addict themselves. And then those people each one of them affect 3 to 5 people. So we're talking about one addict affecting about 38 to 42 people. How can this not affect you in some way? All I'm asking you to do is take responsibility for yourself. You were talking about parents. I am an advocate for backpack searching. I am an advocate for room searches and privacy be damned. Don't care. You want privacy? It's like my father. You can have privacy when you have your own house. I'm not gonna sit back and watch this happen. I am going to be proactive. And okay, I'm not going to be Mr. Popularity, but you know what? I'm not in a contest for Mr. Congeniality. I'm in a contest to make sure my kids live. And I'm in a contest to make sure that my kids are hanging around with the people they should hang around with. I am an extremely involved parent. And we were talking earlier. I'm an embarrassing parent. I will dance in front of my children's friends if for no other reason I can. And they may be embarrassed, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. They're afraid. Sometimes they said, my friends won't even come over to the house. I said, why not? They go, because you're the father with drug tests. I said, I'm not going to drug test everybody that walks into my house. Now, if you're pinned and you look high, I'm going to call your parents. And if the parents don't like that, at least I'm going to do what I need to do. Parents, families, please be parents and please be a family. I couldn't tell you anything more. This involvement with a church like this, I will say this, a guy that helped train me years ago back in the 80s, a guy that I respect immensely, he's a psychiatrist and a rabbi, said, it's very difficult to medicate a disease that is spiritual in nature. So what I'm saying is, although we're talking about a genetically predisposed disease recognized by the AMA, there's a spiritual component that if you aren't able to get a handle on, you're not going to get a handle on this disease. Please talk to your kids. Please talk to their friends. Please make everybody aware that you know what's going on. And if you have to buy one of these opioid-induced constipation medications, you need to come see me right when I'm done talking, because I got to fix you. I got to send you someplace. Anybody have any questions? Yes. He doesn't? Did I scare everybody sufficiently that now you want to ask questions?
Hey, sir.
Yes.
I just want to tell you more of a comment. For myself and my courtroom, for myself and the people that come into my courtroom, I can't thank you enough for everything that you offer, because when addicts come upon you, they know you've been there and you've done it, and they know the access and the comprehensive elements you bring to the table, and it's incredible how many people and lives you've saved, so thank you very much.
Thanks. I will make this one comment, that usually he's up looking down at me. He's on the bench and I'm down here and he's looking down at me. So that's very cool. We have invented kind of our own drug court. And what he does as a magistrate is realizes that while there is illegal activity and there are crimes being committed, he realizes that at the base of these crimes, what we're talking about is addiction. You throw the drugs out, you take the addiction out of the equation, you got no crime. So what he does with me is he calls me in, I talk to them, we'll put them in treatment, and he'll hold charges over their head. And here's what we're going to do. You're going to catch a felony, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, we're going to have these legal charges. However, if you do what you're prescribed to do, and he puts it in my hands, so they have to do what I say, and first they have to detail my car and reshingle my roof, and then they go to rehab. And if he does, and that is a joke, thank you for laughing, thank you for understanding. If they do what is prescribed from a treatment standpoint, they come back in front of the judge, and the judge is going to give him a little bit of a break, and he's going to let him know, if I see you again, bye-bye. This is a one-strike deal here. So here's a judge, and here's a senator that sat in the same seat that agrees with this kind of treatment. If you throw a felony on an 18 to 25-year-old kid, they're not going to even flip burgers at McDonald's. Give them a chance to cure the cause for having them in front of the judge instead of sending them to jail. And on top of that, all these guys that are in jail for marijuana, will somebody please let them out? It's marijuana. I know it's illegal, but let them out. Sorry, a little editorial comment. Anybody else? Yes.
That's off the table. Because I got that all the time when I was a judge. Somebody, the prosecutor would say, look, they've already been to rehab, we're not going to set them out, we're not going to fucking rehab. What do you think about that perception? How do we do that? Okay, the senator's talking about multiple rehabs. Going back into court, you've been to rehab once, you failed, too bad. I don't know. If you have epilepsy and the first medication you're prescribed doesn't work and you still have seizures, should you not try another medication? I would. Let's say you're a diabetic and insulin doesn't work and you have to try something else. I think you try something else. This is a disease, people. These people who are heroin addicted, opiate, these are sick people. They need treated for their sickness. And sometimes the first time doesn't work. There is a limit. What that limit is, who knows? I tell a story about a guy I knew who was a United Auto worker, worked at the GM plant out in West Mifflin. He came into treatment, and I was managing a rehab out in Washington, for the 38th time. 38th time. And the staff says, we're not going to let him in, it's just a vacation. And I said, well, if you are that tuned in, then maybe you know the lottery tickets. So I let him come in. 38 was the, they say 3's the charm? For this guy, 38 was the charm. Is that too many? I don't know. But I know this guy stayed clean until the day he died. Now, he died as a direct result of his disease because he had hepatitis C from needle sharing.
But he got 8 years clean, he got married, he bought a house, and he got a motorcycle. That's what he wanted. But he got his disease treated, and then from that day on, every 2 months he would drag 2 more people into the treatment center. Kind of like one of those pay it forward things. Very cool thing to happen. Is 38 too many times? Probably. When we say keep coming back, we don't mean the detox, we mean the meetings. And the key here is individual outpatient counseling, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. They're free. Anybody else? The officer said, is it true that the older you get, the better chance you have of being clean? I would have to say that's absolutely positively true, if for no other reason. Young guys don't have any consequences. Yeah, okay, if you don't stop using, I'm taking your cell phone away. Of course, nowadays, they would rather you amputate their arm than take their cell phone. But if you're 40, you tend to lose a job, kids, wives. So yeah, I think the older you get, the more chance you do have of getting clean and sober. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one question over here.
How do you get help for family member who doesn't want help? I mean,
How do you get help for somebody who doesn't want help? This is why I do what I do. You hire an interventionist, and if you can't afford an interventionist, you organize your own intervention. And what you do is you get a bunch of family members, people who love and respect the person who has this sickness, and you get them to approach this person and say, here's what we've got to do. And you just keep on pounding them and pounding them. I had a guy who was explaining the intervention process just last week, and he said, well, what if we go through all this, and my son, who was a 24-year-old heroin addict, what if he still doesn't want to go? And I was trying to make things a little bit, trying to calm things down a little bit, and I said, well, I have an aluminum softball bat in my car. And this guy, because he was so desperate, without missing a beat, says to me, okay, do I hold him and you hit him with the bat? Or do you hold him and I hit him? I mean, we're not hitting anybody with a bat, but it just shows, and when I'm done, you and me, we'll talk. You're buying. Walt.
I was wondering, I don't know how much you do with like re-addiction, but when they get into schools earlier, because obviously the ages are getting lower and lower, where kids get started.
Pre-addiction.
I mean, where are we going with teaching kids younger and more effectively? Because I went to high school, we had drug training, and it was like computer watches, films back in the day. But where are we going with more effective?
Everybody is more aware of this. There's more and more things that are happening in schools. There's the DARE officers that are in school. They're invaluable to some of these school districts. But I'll tell you something. If you don't think there's Adderall and Concerta floating all around middle schools, and kids are trying to get laid, they're giving the cute girl the speed, this is what's happening. They're stealing booze from their parents' closet. They're smoking pot. They're getting from their other brothers. And parents and adults, will you please empty out your medicine cabinets? My God, that there's drug drop-offs all the time. Empty out your medicine cabinet. But these kids, it's happening younger and younger. And there was an issue where we were talking about how is this now a gateway drug? And the judge was talking about it. What I'm seeing is heroin addicts who started in high school, who were on the lacrosse team, the football team, the basketball team, any contact sport, legitimate injuries, legitimate prescriptions. One of those oxys hits their tongue and it's all over.
Senator Reschenthaler and myself go into the middle schools as low as 5th and 6th grade and talk to kids in classrooms. And